Good morning, Rabbi Sai. Kesubos Daf Chof, the 8-minute Daf. Today we have some amazing sugyas. We're going to learn a little bit about Hakasha and Hazama. Who's this fellow called Barshatia? And a very, very interesting halacha. What if you write down notes about something you saw? Can you testify years later based on your notes? So Gemara tells us, if you have a shtar that you could be mekayim, you have a document that can be authenticated by itself, the Eidim, whatever, you have somebody. Other Eidim are not permitted to come and testify that they recognize the signatures. However, those that signed were puzzled, etc. Why? Because it's authenticated without them. According to Rav Sheshes, you could take that shtar and use it to demand money. Hazama. What does Hazama mean and what does Hakasha mean? And how is that important to us? Hakasha means that the Eidim contradict each other. The second set of Eidim come and contradict the first. They say they were puzzled, it's not true. Hakasha. Hazama is more severe. Hazama means that the second set of Eidim testify that the first set of Eidim, and this has nothing to do with the shtar, the first set of Eidim were with us in a different country, in a different place. They were with us on an island. We could testify. It's so severe that if we find out that what they're saying is true, then the first set of Eidim are liable to whatever they wanted to accuse the first person. So if they wanted to accuse them for monetary damage, they have to pay the monetary damage. If they wanted to kill the first person based on their testimony, they get killed. But there's an interesting halacha. You can only do a hazama if those Eidim are right there in front of you. So Rav Sheshes holds that Hakasha has some of the halachas of hazama, and therefore, in order to be makhish, in order to contradict the Eidim in the shtar, those Eidim in the shtar must be present in front of you. However, Rabbi Avo holds that you could do Hakasha and you could contradict the Eidim even not in front of them. In fact, every Hazama has a little bit of Hakasha. In other words, you could do Hazama even if the Eidim are not there. You won't be able to punish those Eidim, but you'll be able to contradict the shtar and not use it. Therefore, says Rav Nachman, we have two Eidim in the shtar, two Eidim that testify against the shtar. So it's 2 against 2. They cancel each other out, and we take the money and we leave it wherever it is. So what does it mean they're not believed? It means that we don't burn the shtar. And if one of the people grabs the money, the mammon, we don't take it out of him. And the Gemara says, just like Barshatia, this Barshatia, sometimes he was healthy, he was normal, sometimes he was a shaita, he was crazy. And he sold his property. 2 of them said he sold it when he was normal, 2 said he was crazy. So we leave the karka exactly where it is, on condition that he has a chazaka that he got it from his father, it's in his belonging. But otherwise we'll say no, the same way he purchased it, let's say he was crazy, that's the way he sold it. Or let's say he was normal, he sold it like that as well. Ravasi says the only way you could authenticate a shtar is if there's a challenge to the shtar, they brought it to Bezdin and Bezdin authenticated it. Now they add and they say if you find 2 kesubos with a signature or 2 real estate documents that nobody said anything for 3 years, you can use those signatures as well. And that's on condition that the documents are in a third party's possession. Because if the borrower has the documents, perhaps he took those documents and he copied and forged the signatures. The Gemara tells us a person can write down notes and testify based on his notes. According to Rabbi Huna, on condition that he remembers details without the notes, and then the notes just refresh and complete his memory. According to Rabbi Yochanan, even if he didn't remember anything, and once he sees his notes, then he refreshes his memory. And the same thing halach would be that one aid can remind a second aid what happened. But the lender himself cannot remind anyone unless the person he's reminding, the aid he's reminding, is a Talmid Chacham. Why? And how do we know this? We see this from a story that happened with Rav Ashi. Rav Kahana told Rav Ashi, don't you remember this and this happened to me? And Rav Ashi says, I have no recollection. Later on, Rav Kahana sees Rav Ashi testifying in Bezdin on his behalf. He said, what's going on here? He's shocked. Rav Ashi explained and he said, I don't remember it based on what you reminded me. I sat down and thought about it and recalled it on my own. But that's because Rav Ashi is a Talmid Chacham. But a regular person doesn't have that right. The Gemara tells us that a witness can testify even more than 60 years later. And the reason is because a person commits eidos to his memory. They tell him, you please be our aid. So he puts it and commits it to his memory. However, the Gemara brings another halacha. When it comes to remembering where the graves are, that's up to 60 years. And the halacha tells us that if you're going on the way and you see a mound, perhaps somebody put a body in there. As the Gemara says, maybe it was Erev Shabbos and it was getting late. They threw the body in there thinking they're going to come back later and they didn't. Maybe a woman had a stillborn and put the stillborn there. Maybe somebody's arm fell off from a certain disease and he buried it there. If it's a very old mound and Reb Meir says, what's that? More than 60 years old, then people don't remember whether or not there's a body there, so we have to be concerned. According to Reb Yehuda, it's as long as somebody remembers. They don't remember, that's considered old, so it could be even 20, 30 years. When do we say that a mound is not a concern? When it's new, because nobody knows about it. If in fact somebody was buried there, people will know about it, people will talk. And another condition, it has to be far away from the city. What's far away? According to Reb Meir, more than 50 amma. According to Reb Yehuda, further, as long as there's nothing closer than that mound. Because if there's a mound closer, people buried over there. What's this 50 amma? That's where women will go up until they ask somebody else for help to go all the way to the cemetery. The mound is tameh only in a city that's close to a cemetery or in a pathway that leads to the cemetery, because of that concern that we said earlier, that were concerned, they were on the way to the cemetery, Erev Shabbos, ben Hashmashas, and they just quickly buried the body there. Have a wonderful day.